Hello and welcome to Becoming Enchanted, a podcast all about ways to bring enchantment and healing into your life. I am your host, Stacey Lee. Join me and my co-host, Andy Andrews, as we journey into the hearts and minds and discuss topics related to spirituality, the supernatural, esoteric knowledge, mysticism, psychology, and so much more. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, and welcome to our podcast. So tonight we have a very special guest. Her name is Elicia Frazier. She is a wonderful artist. She's a professional artist. She's showing and selling her artwork regionally. She teaches visual arts class and workshops at Zoll Studio and York Art Association. Since 2015, she's been diving into astrology. She's been obsessed learning astrology. And she's dabbled naturally with the spiritual realm and opening herself up from realistic art to more creative spiritual art, in which we're going to showcase to you later. The spiritual realm is what most fascinates and inspires her creativity. She wants to be an artistic vessel to help people in their self-awareness and their spiritual journey. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Elicia on stage. Welcome, Elicia. How are you? Hold on. There you go. Okay. So, what is happening?
You can't fit 3 people in, I guess.
No. It's like I said, Mercury retrograde, which we may be able to talk about. I'm having a little trouble streaming on Facebook. It's not like we're not streaming on Facebook right now. We're only on YouTube. I don't know what's happening, Andy.
It wouldn't be what you told me a while ago, was it?
No, I'm a little confused. I'm going to try to stream on my business page and see if that helps. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let's see if.
Whoa. Okay, I'm back.
All right. Gary says YouTube is fine. It is streaming fine on YouTube. It's my personal page that's messing up. So it is over on my business page. So sorry. Hold on, everybody. The ones on YouTube, it's only one viewer on YouTube, and that is Gary. So I don't have many viewers on YouTube. So let me switch over to my business page. I'll share it on my personal page, and then you guys can share it out. Because it looks like I am. Am I live?
It's Facebook's issue, not us.
This is a Facebook issue, is what it's saying. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I'm live on my business page. Okay. So I'm going to share it on my. Oh, I can only share there. Why is it not letting me? I'm live on my. Oh, turn it down.
Hurt yourself.
Copy link. Share now. Share on a friend's timeline. Andy. Oh, I don't have any friends. Okay. This is wonderful. Okay. You know what I do? This is technology for us. This has never happened. I don't know what is going on with that.
Hopefully that wasn't something to do when you were telling me to change stuff.
No.
But
it was giving me an error earlier when I and it's fine. I mean, if we're not live on Facebook, we're not going to get the comments like we normally do. We can just talk, and then we can
download
it for later. All right. I am sharing it on my live feed now. We are having issues live streaming. View on my business page.
So how long you been drawing, Elicia?
Yeah, why don't you talk to her while I try to figure this piece out?
I did that, yep.
Probably since I was like 2.
Really?
I've been drawing since I was very little. My parents always encouraged it, and schools always thought I was good, and
that's awesome.
I realized I wanted to be an art teacher 5th grade because I saw my art teacher come out with like these big rolling carts of just tons of art supplies. And I was like, I want to be that. because I just wanted all the art supplies around me so I could just create all the time.
There you go. Yeah. And I'm a musician, which is another form of art. And same way, I was started playing when I was 3. And from that point, I always wanted to teach it. So I used to give class just at my home. I used to give drum lessons and stuff like that. So I feel you on that one, but that's great because it takes a special person to be a teacher like that. So definitely. So what got you interested in astrology? Just an interest in it, or?
So I gave birth in 2015, and I always dabbled in astrology, just like sun signs and knowing what the different signs were a little bit. And when I gave birth, it was to a child that was a Virgo. And I didn't really know much about Virgo. And I was like, that's one I don't really know too much about. So I started diving into that. And as I was researching it on YouTube, then they started talking about knowing your main 3. And I was like, well, what are your main 3? And they said your ascendant, your sun, and your moon. And I was like, I didn't know there was more to astrology than just the sun signs.
Right.
So well, why is it important to know your moon? And it's like, well, that's how you emote, for one. And then for 2, how your child sees you as a mother. And I was like, oh, well, I definitely want to know that because I want to try to be the best mom I can be. And then knowing their ascendant, I didn't know that the ascendant is actually more important than your sun sign. So a lot of people sometimes don't even relate to their sun sign that much. They find out that maybe their moon sign and their ascendant are the same, and they're actually more of their moon and their ascendant than even their sun sign. So the more you get to know, the more you realize.
Okay. That kind of makes sense with me because I saw somebody post yesterday, like somebody, every once in a while on Facebook, somebody will put like all signs up, and like I'm reading down and I get to Aquarius, which I am, and it said these people are dead and like pretty much I have no personality, and I mean it said all this stuff that was totally opposite, what I am. But I guess maybe that means that I am maybe that means that I'm more on the moon side or something. I don't know. I mean, is that kind of what you're saying, or?
So, okay. I wanted to, when we start, to just say that like what we're going to be talking about today is just like one aspect of astrology.
Gotcha.
That if you want to really understand astrology, there are several things that you guys need to understand. That there are signs and knowing what they represent. There are elements and qualities of each sign. There's polarities of signs. There's planets and meanings in orbital cycles. There's meaning to asteroids and comets and invisible points like the nodes. There's cool. Meanings to the houses. There's rulerships of planets and their planetary strength. There's aspects and angles between the planets. There's meanings of even what the degrees are. So, and there's 3 decants of the degrees. The speed that the planet goes, whether it's going forward or backwards, which we'll get into as far as retrograde. There's house systems, there's astrological patterns and cycles over time in history. And like when you put it all together, it's kind of spaghetti. And that's where I'm at right now is I understand all the little aspects.
Right.
Thing, but when you put it all together, that's when I'm like, because there's so many energies going on. And astrologers, I mean, they go to school for this stuff to learn how to put it together and to really make sense of the whole thing and see all the patterns, and then also even track it back in history. And it's fascinating. The more you get into it, it's just like this onion that just keeps.
Yeah, that's the thing that I always found really fascinating about it is how they can go back and back and back and back and tell you, where, this pattern was this time, because obviously me being a big history guy, the way astrology was used for, people, ships and how they did courses and stuff, and even going back to simply to the Bible. And, when the 3, when everybody started to go where Jesus was born at, They
They look
follow
at the
the North
stars.
Star. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So every astrology's been around with everything, and I mean, Stacy does a lot of stuff with the druids and stuff like that. That has a lot to do, I'm sure, with astrology, doesn't it?
I don't know
Well,
much about druids, so
I was asking.
that'd be a Stacy question.
Druids are more earth. It's more earth
Yeah,
based. It is. Like it is painted into the earth, but if you think about it, like the earth is controlled by the moon. The earth is controlled by a lot of the astrological forces. And
Mhm,
I think that's where like it kind of intertwines and interchanges. But yeah, I agree. Like I've tried to study astrology. I know a very little bit, and
mhm.
it just got overwhelming for me.
yeah,
So
same.
that's why I'm like, I'll leave it to the experts. And I know you don't call yourself an expert,
Well,
but you know a lot more than I do
yeah.
when it
I mean, I
comes to
guess I should
astrology.
start too with, like, why it's important to know astrology or, like, why people maybe
Yeah, why study? Why know
astrology.
about it? Yeah, that's a good question.
So, I think of it as kind of like a weather forecast for, like, the day, the week, the month, the year, and to know, like, what energy is coming your way so that you can kinda co-create with the universe and not just react to that energy. So, I kinda think of it as, like, going to the ocean, and observing the waves and then figuring out, like, which surfboard you're gonna take to which wave. So I really love astrology because you can just really learn like every atom, particle, everything is just energy, right? The universe is energy,
Hmm.
the earth is energy, we're energy, and it's all the energy and how it mathematically works and makes sense together. And if you can understand those patterns and see what's coming up, you just kind of get to kind of co-create in it instead of just saying, "Oh no, this just happened and now I have to react to it." So, and I'm a
Yeah,
planner.
and
I'm a
I like
planner.
how you. Yeah, I like how you describe that, like
Yeah.
this energies and what wave to surf, so to speak. I just
Yeah.
want to really give a shout out. Hi Trista, if you're here still, and hi Tara Shay. I'm glad you guys are joining us. I am live now on Facebook on both of my pages, so
Nice.
I did get it fixed. I don't know how, but we fixed it.
Well, see, like, with us being paranormal people, Stacy, that I mean, talking about energies, I mean, I'm 110% sold and believe that that's what we're dealing with is energy. Whatever we're
Mhm.
dealing with and talking to, and I had this conversation Saturday night with some people. Every piece of equipment we have out there that we use in the field when we're investigating, all of them outside of video and audio, everything else is set up for energy, EMF, vibration, frequency, all that
Static.
energy,
Yeah.
energy. So we
Mhm.
might have to start learning some of this because what if we tied astrology in with when
Paranormal.
we investigate certain nights or certain, whatever, what kind of energy you got going
Hmm.
on. And maybe
Well,
that would be something to go with.
well, Andy, before the show started, you said, you're a Christian and you're wondering how that works with your religion.
Right?
And if you think of God as an energy and a creator of this earth and that we are part of God, we are energy too, and we're in the image of God. We're co-creators and
Absolutely.
we're
Hmm.
Yep. I agree 100% with that. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, is that what we go back to once we leave this vessel, that we
Yeah.
call skin and everything else. It's all energy,
Yeah.
and so astrology,
And a lot of people ask me too, like, how does astrology even work? And it's like, well, supposedly quantum physics works, but we don't know how. So
Yeah.
right,
I don't mean
Sometimes we just don't know how.
I'm
Yeah.
like a science expert that knows how this works. I just know that when I see the patterns and I'm looking at my astrology chart and things line up
Hmm.
perfectly, I'm like, this is crazy. Like it almost baffles me that I like read it and then like it just happens and I'm like, wow, there it is.
And I've experienced that too. And I think you're right. Like I think there's certain aspects of astrology that people are like, oh yeah, that like full moons. Like
Yeah.
you talk about full moons. Like everybody knows, like from the dawn of time, like as far as I can remember, like full moons are crazy time, and more babies are born. That's scientifically proven.
More people in the hospital.
More people are in the hospital. More people go to jail. Everybody who works in a service industry like that sees craziness. You work in a school.
The teachers see the kids all.
Yeah. And, are we creating that energy? Like, because we're thinking of that full moon, is it something like a pareidolia, or I don't know if you would call that pareidolia, but, are we creating that energy because we think of it?
Not unless we're
as a collective, we're thinking of this almost like a tulpa. So or is it real? Is it true? But that's quantum physics. So.
I mean, you know more about the moon cycle, but isn't the full moon more of like a culmination of energy that has come complete and then we're letting go?
Yeah,
right?
letting go. It's like a culmination of energy, let go, and then build again.
To the waning.
So Krista is saying if it would explain why you can go to the same place 2 nights and 1 night you get nothing, the next night you get off the wall crazy. And she's talking about paranormal investigating.
Yeah.
And I think, Andy, what you brought up a good point there is like, I'm sure the alignment of the planets and the stars and the moons and stuff like that do affect our investigations. When we do investigations.
I've always thought that.
What do you think about that, Elicia?
I mean, energy is energy. So if there's like more Neptunian energy, it might be a little more dreamy, foggy, more mystical in energy. If it's more Aries energy, you guys might be like diving in maybe too quick, or like the energy is just what the energy is. And then how you choose to do your investigation, you guys are still creating your path. It's just that the energy is kind of like behind the scenes, and like you're either working with it or against it.
Okay.
Right.
And every energy too has a positive and a negative. So it's how do you either go the positive route or the negative route on that journey?
That makes sense. I tell people that with like tarot cards. Like the tarot cards have a reversed and an upright meaning. So it all depends on that makes sense.
That's kind of like what I've been trying to promote. I've noticed that when I go into places, Penhurst one time, to be honest, probably a couple times back that I went in, it was always that talking stern, trying to communicate. But then this last time that I went, I was throwing as much positive energy out that I could and talking like I was talking to the people that would have been there. And just since I've met Stacy and since I've been around my other family, I call them, promoting positive energy and stuff like that and using that as I'm investigating has brought me way more luck or whatever you want to call it. But it's been a very positive thing. Just, like Saturday night, I investigated a place that supposedly not a lot of things happen a whole lot. And, I don't go in there acting like an idiot or nothing, but I just think putting positive out there, positive, you're going to get back, and that's with
absolutely.
Anything. That's with anything,
So
the energy you put out is the energy you get back.
Exactly.
So let's talk about these houses. Like, I know that's one thing that I've tried to understand. I've tried to use. I used to do like little moon readings and like what moon in the house it meant, and sometimes I get very confused. So, what are the houses? What do they represent? Like, tell us all about that.
Okay, so when you're looking at an astrology chart, you're going to see a wheel, right? And in that wheel, there's like 12 different sections around the wheel. And as things transit each house, not only are you taking on the planet's energy, the sign's energy, but what house it's in. And the house has an energy too, along with also the degrees, but we won't go that far.
Okay. I'm actually going to pull up a picture of the wheel so that way.
That's exactly what she's talking about.
Well, so at the very beginning of the wheel, it's usually on the left-hand side, going, towards the east. You'll see what's called the ascendant, and it usually has an ASC next to it. That's your ascendant. And from the ascendant, you go into the first house. The ascendant is very important because that, I think, is when the sun was, or where the sun was rising when you were born. And it really talks to kind of your personality and who you are. So anyways, the first house. So each house also has rulers. So the first house's rulers are Aries and Mars, because remember, it's about the self. We're starting with the self, and then we're going to work our way around the 12 houses. So it's also the same sign as your ascendant. And this is yourself, your self-image, your body, your overall appearance, your personality, your personal identity, and how you move your physical body or your vitality and health. So it has a lot to do with the self. Okay.
My second house must be about half fallen down.
I'm actually pulling up my chart because I couldn't find a good picture. So I'm going to pull up mine and share it with you guys.
Okay.
As she's talking about this.
And honestly, there's the first circle, that's your house, but then you can add a second wheel along your wheel. Okay, so you have your wheel, you can put on a second wheel, and that second wheel could be the energy of the world right now. And then you can look at how the world right now is affecting your personal chart. So then you can see how things are happening in your life, not just who you are and the aspects of who you are, but how your planets, moon, signs, whatever, are also playing into the energy that's happening on the earth right now.
Gotcha.
All right. Are you able to see that mine? Because now I can't see you guys.
On the left-hand side where it says ASC, or just, it looks like yours just says AC.
Right here.
That is your ascendant. So you have a Cancer ascendant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's very much about home, loving, big heart, caring, the family, that kind of stuff. And you'll see that also goes into your first house, but then Leo starts to creep into your first house. So you have, two different energies happening in your first house. You have Cancer and Leo. Most people would look at that first line, which is the Cancer, and say, okay, mostly, I'm a Cancer first house. But there are some energies of Leo happening in there, so you do want to take that into account too. All right, so let's go into the second house. So the second house, the ruler is Taurus and Venus. So we're going out of who am I into what do I value, and what kind of material possessions do I have? What are my personal finances? What is my attitude towards money and resources? What is my income? What is my earning potential? What's your financial stability? What are your personal values, your self-worth? How do you invest? How do you seek security and comfort? It can also provide you insights on your talents, your skills, and possessions. So, you don't have any planets there, but you have Leo.
Okay.
So you would take the energy of Leo and then combine it with, your self-worth and finances. Leo likes to be seen.
That's why I like my attention.
Yeah. Leo likes to be seen. Leo is like the queen or king of their castle. And if it's like self-worth, I would assume that you have a good amount of self-worth, because a Leo has self-worth. Now remember, to every sign, there's positives and negatives. So you can look at the negatives to a Leo. And the only reason why I know about Leos, my son's a Leo rising. They can be a little dramatic.
Shut up, Andy.
No,
don't say anything.
Remember, this is your second house, so this isn't like your personality per se.
Okay.
But it's how you value yourself. It's how you maybe if you have money, you want to show off your money. You want to the way you earn your income could be being seen. Like right now, you're being seen. You want to be seen to make some money, right?
Yeah.
Now, just because you have these aspects, then you also, do you see all these like red lines and blue lines?
Yeah, that I never understood.
Yeah. So there's all different aspects. So there's squaring, quincunxing, sextiling. I mean, there's so many different aspects. So right now I don't see like that many aspects happening to your second house, but you'd also have to take into account those. And then if you had any planets in the second house, I mean, it gets pretty complicated, but I'm going to go through the houses with you guys.
You don't have to go through all of my chart. Like, you don't have to sit there and do this.
So let's just go through the third house.
Yeah.
So we just talked about who am I? Then we went into like, what is my self-value? What is my self-worth? Now we're going into third house. Now we want to communicate. You know, now we're starting to get into other people, not just ourselves, but starting to go towards maybe our foundations per se. So the third house is ruled by Mercury and Gemini. So anything that deals with communications, verbal, written, any objects that deal with communication, like your cell phones, your computers. Learning is very important in the third house. Your intermediate environment, any short distance travel, transportation, technology. It governs how we express ourselves, our communication style, how we interact with others on a daily basis. It also represents our siblings, our neighbors, our close relatives. It signifies curiosity, our intellect, our mental abilities, including our capabilities for learning, writing, and speaking. So you can see, like, you know, you have to start forming communication before you have a relationship, right? So now we're going to start heading into the fourth house, which has a lot to do with our upbringing. You know, where are our roots? So the fourth house, the rulers are Cancer and the Moon. And this represents like your upbringing, your home, your family, your heritage, your ancestrage, our sense of belonging, our connection to family and ancestry. It encompasses our childhood, our upbringing, our environment, how we feel secure. It also governs our emotional well-being, our private life, and our relationship with our parents and caregivers. Now, what's interesting, though, is normally because the fourth house is represented by Cancer and the Moon, I would think, because the moon is the mother, right? You would think that you would find out more about your mother in the fourth house. But what a lot of astrologers have said in a book that I was reading too, is that actually your father is represented more in the fourth house. And then your mother is more represented in I think it was the 10th house.
Oh, wow.
And when I looked at my chart, I was like, huh, that actually kind of rings true. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But okay. And there's something else I was going to say about houses. I'll think about what that was, but there was something else I wanted to bring up about houses. But anyways, all right, so the fifth house, so we're coming out of our roots, and now we're coming into how do we express ourselves now that we've kind of like been born and rooted. We're going into more of that childhood type feel, right? And we're going to become more adult as we go around the wheel. So the fifth house it's ruled by Leo and the Sun. It's associated with our creativity, our self-expression, romance, dating, our children, entertainment. I mean, if you think of the Leo is like the child, right? I mean, he's not only just the king in his castle, but he's the sun. He's radiant. He's like a child. So entertainment can be seen here. It represents our ability to enjoy life, express our individuality, and find joy and pleasure. This house is also connected with artistic endeavors, hobbies, recreational activities, and it governs the matter of the heart, including romantic partners, dating, love affairs. It can also relate to fertility, pregnancy, childbirth, nurturing children, and it also reveals our playfulness, our spontaneity, and our pursuit of happiness. So everything that the sun is, if you think of the sun.
Yeah. Sorry, I stopped sharing because I felt like I think they got the idea of the wheel. So.
Oh, okay. I was like, stop sharing everything.
No, not you. I was stopped sharing the screen so that way they could see your beautiful face and not just look at this wheel.
All right. So now that we're coming out of us in that child playful kind of feel, we now need to get to work, right? At some point in childhood, you got to start doing the work. So 6th house is the work, which is 6th house is ruled by Virgo and Mercury. And Virgo is like the doer, the worker. And this is actually kind of a funny story. So my husband's a Gemini and my son's a Virgo. And one thing they said about Gemini versus Virgo, it's like Gemini just wants tons of information. And they just take in all this information, all this mental stuff, and they put it in their head. But a Virgo's like, well, yeah, I'm going to take all this stuff and put it in my head, but then I want to do something with it.
I'm a Virgo. I'm a Virgo. That's my sun's sign, at least.
Yeah. So anyways, the sixth house is represented by or associated with health, work, day-to-day routines, your structure, your service, your self-improvement. It represents our ability to maintain physical and mental well-being. So it can deal with health, as well as our approach to work and productivity. It governs our daily routines, our habits, the way that we handle responsibilities and obligations. And it relates to our attitude towards service and the fulfillment that we get in helping and supporting others, our job satisfaction, our work environment, how we organize, all the practical matters, and also a dedication to our self-improvement and self-development. So it's all the work. It's all the hard work. All right, from now we got our job, right? So now we need a relationship.
So
I'm trying to show it kind of like
I like how it's following.
Yes.
I never knew this. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Now we need the relationship.
No,
So
we don't. You don't need a
this is-
relationship. This is where all the
all my
hurt comes
planets
in.
are. This is where all my planets are. All right. So the seventh house, it's associated. Well, first of all, the ruler is Venus and Libra. Remember, Libra is the sign of relationships and the balance, right? It's associated with partnership, relationships, marriage, open enemies, one-on-one contracts with other people in your life. It shows you how to relate to others and the qualities that we seek in a partner. It signifies our ability to cooperate, compromise, engage in harmonious interactions. It's related to the approach that we take to commitment, balance, fairness in our relationships. It can indicate a presence of an open enemy or an adversary. It governs conflicts and legal matters. And our role in understanding social interactions and dynamics with close relationships. So basically, anything that's like a one-on-one contract with somebody. So like our marriage, we sign a contract, right? A friendship, like I have had a friend since I was 8 years old. Like that's a contract. That's somebody that you've committed to one-on-one. Okay, those are your seventh house partnerships. Okay. So once you've gotten in a relationship, what comes next?
Babies.
Exactly. So we're now
Andy.
So the eighth house is sex, death, rebirth. I know.
He's closing his laptop. He's like, no, I'm done.
Okay, so anyways, it's ruled by Scorpio and Pluto. It is a house of transformation, shared resources, so the resources of somebody else, so maybe your partner and their resources. Also intimacy, the occult. So you know how you guys do stuff with the occult? That would be the eighth house. It represents the deeper aspects of our life under the surface.
That's a private thing.
Okay. Our ability to, for personal and spiritual growth, death and rebirth, signifies major life changes and transformations and regeneration, letting go of stuff and embracing the new. Inheritances, like when people die, the inheritances that you get, because remember that's somebody else's money. Joint finances, investments, basically anything that deals with partnership and money. And then also your sexuality, and your desires, passions.
This is the eighth house.
Yeah,
right?
your deeply formed connections and your ability to trust, be vulnerable and intimate with somebody. So deep merging of energies.
That's eighth house, right?
That's the house. So basically what I think of is just sex, death, rebirth, and other people's finances.
Okay. What is the squiggly line symbol for what sign is that? The two squiggly lines.
The two squiggly lines? What kind of squiggle?
It's hold on.
I know what it is. I even know what it is.
What?
The picture.
I think it's Aquarius, isn't it?
Aquarius is kind of like 2 zigzags.
Zigzags. Yes, that's it. Okay.
You didn't even know my sign.
I don't know the symbols of the sign.
You
Okay,
know?
so Aquarius, that's my Aquarius. It's all my 8th house is completely Aquarius. Sorry.
Where there goes that contract of out of the house of 8 or 7 or whatever it was, but you just crapped all over that contract.
Hey, Pam.
Nah, just kidding. Hi, Pamela.
Sorry, we're gonna take things and go way on another side with them. I should have warned you about that.
It's all good.
You have tons of great information now.
Thank you. Okay, so from the 8th house now, we've become intimate. We're collecting other people's finances and death and rebirth, right? Now we really want to get to the meaning of things, right? So the 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius and Jupiter. This is the house that's associated with, this is my favorite house actually, higher learning, spirituality, foreign or further travel, philosophy, and beliefs. So it represents our search for meaning and connection to the broader world beyond our immediate surroundings. It's the house of expansion and exploration, higher intelligence, universities, academic pursuits, such as philosophy, theology, law, cultural studies. It signifies our beliefs, our principles, our personal philosophies. It's linked to spiritual search for truth, the connection to the divine, the metaphysics, astrology, esoteric subjects, which you guys are into, the higher realms of existence. It's also, long distance travel, the desire for adventure, different cultures, broadening your horizons through travel, relations and diplomacy, exchanging of ideas between countries, the justice, ethics, moral values. It can also be associated with publishing, writing, broadcasting, teaching and sharing knowledge with others, your curiosity, an exploration for higher meaning. It's the broader world and universe.
I have Pisces there.
I absolutely love. Well, I have Neptune in that house, so it's very spiritual. And then
it's Pisces and the moon. Pisces and the moon. That's the 2.
Well,
I love the moon.
I'm a Pisces ascendant, but then I have Neptune and the 9th house right next to the midheaven, so it's like very me.
So Crystal Marie just posted on here, would have been great to write all this down. We actually have a YouTube channel that you can go back and actually listen to this, Crystal, and write it down, because I think that I'm going to be doing the same thing.
It's so much information. I love it.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I like to be prepared, and I wrote 8 pages worth.
Yes. She wrote 8 pages of notes because
the font's really big, so I can
what is your sign? Your sun sign is?
Well, what's funny is, okay, so my sun sign is Cancer, and my ascendant is Pisces, and my moon is Libra, and you'd think like, well, that doesn't make sense.
There's no Virgo in there, but you sound very Virgo.
Well, listen, so Jupiter is the planet of expansion, right?
Yeah.
So I have Neptune on my midheaven, which is very spiritual, and then right across from that is Venus, which is the art, right? But then coming in T-juncting it is Jupiter in Virgo and Saturn in Virgo. So it's like, well, that's all well and good that you like to do art and that you like to be spiritual, but how are you actually going to make money? And let's get to the practical stuff, and let's get organized, and let's make sure you're doing the hard work. So it's like, so at least I have like some balance there. It's not all wooey, I do actually try to
have a little bit of grounding there.
Yeah.
I love astrology too. Okay, go ahead. Next house.
After the 9th house, we've just become now more intelligent. We've expanded our horizons. Now, how are we actually going to leave our legacy? How are we going to become our best selves and like what we are trying to achieve in this world? So that very next line between the 9th house and the 10th house, you'll see like a little arrow. That is your midheaven. And your midheaven has a lot to do with your career. It's the highest point in the sky where the highest point in the sky when you were born. So it's your public image, your reputation, your career, your aspirations. It's your professional world, how you strive to achieve in your chosen path. It's your ambitions, your achievements, your legacy that you want to leave behind. It signifies our drive for success, our recognition, our desire for authority in our respective field. It provides our insights into how we can excel, be significant contributions to the world, our work environment, and the responsibility that we seek to be successful. And that leads right into the 10th house, which is our career house. So that midheaven is like the beginning of our career house, and it goes right into career.
Gotcha.
And this is ruled by Sagittarius and Jupiter. And this, in any planet or sign that you have in the 10th house, is how you're seen by other people in your career. So how you're seen in the world, your work in the world, how your public image, your reputation, your influence to others and your authority. It's also your bosses, your superiors, your government officials. It's the house associated with responsibility, leadership, recognition, respect, long-term goals, achievements, and overall direction in your life. So that is one to definitely look at to see what kind of planets you have there, and then also see the aspects coming off of the 10th house. So it's going to tell you a lot about what you're trying to accomplish in this world as far as your career.
See, I know nothing about the aspects. I'm looking at mine. I have no planets in there, but it's mainly in Aries.
Is that the midheaven sign? The line that's between 9th house and 10th house is Aries?
Well, no. It's weird. This chart doesn't really show like what you're explaining.
Can you show me your chart? Can you show me your chart?
I'm going to share it again, and we'll.
And then maybe I can show.
Why did I stop my cam? I don't know why that does that. Yeah, because I think the midheaven thing is definitely confusing me.
Yep.
Okay. There we go. So mine says it's the MC up here.
Yeah, so do you see the MC? That is your midheaven. And you have the moon right there. So you're picking some that's very intuitive. And is that at 29 degrees? Okay,
29 degrees, yeah.
So everything as far as degrees is between 0 and 29. 0 degrees and 29 degrees are your anaretic degrees. That means they're very, very important in your chart. So the fact that you have the moon at 29 degrees means it's highly intuitive. Whatever you're doing in your career is going to be highly intuitive. And I am also noticing you have your north node on your, do you guys see the IC?
Down here at the bottom.
Yeah, IC. If you go just a little bit higher, you'll see what looks like a horseshoe.
Right here.
Yep, that is your north node. So we'll talk a little bit maybe about the north node and south node, but you have the north node there. So your career is very destined. Like this is the path you're supposed to be on. It's something very intuitive, something very so the moon is also very receptive. It has a lot to do with the emotional side of things. The more that you, and what was the sign? The sign is, it's right on 29 degrees too. So yeah, it's very Aries. So I would look up what, like this is what I do all the time. When I go to Google, what I would be Googling is, what does it mean to have your 10th house in Aries? And what does it mean to have, your moon on the midheaven? Like I just start clicking it. And then I also put down natal, because you're looking at your natal chart. You don't want them to be doing synastry. There's all different ways to look at astrology, but make sure that you say, what does it mean to have Aries in my 10th house natally? Because you're looking at your natal chart. Yeah.
Assertiveness, initiative, determination. Individuals with this placement are often perceived as natural leaders, possessing a clear sense of self and strong drive to succeed.
Right, but also with intuition at a very high degree,
Yeah, that was just like a quick, there's a big article.
And then you'd also want to look at, any aspects, to the 10th house, and, just keep learning about your chart. And you'll learn more and more and more about yourself that, you can go more inward and start thinking about those things and seeing what you can create within that.
Yeah. What did you call that line again where it says
It's your
MC?
midheaven.
Midheaven. Okay.
You'll hear some astrologers say midheaven and some astrologers say midhaven. It just depends on how they decide to say it. Yeah, so the anaretic degree.
Okay. All right. Is it just interesting? I'm just like, yeah. So.
All right. So now that we've done our career,
Okay.
now we need to start working with other people in our career, right? Or we need to start working with groups of people or even our friendships. We need to kind of get, how you want that like work-life balance. That's how I kind of think of it. You're going from now your job to what do I do with either people in groups and associations or with my friends now. Like I need to keep networking. Networking is like the next one. So the 11th house, the ruler is Aquarius and Uranus.
That's right.
The 11th house is the house of friends.
You noticed how she said that, right?
Uranus. I don't know why. I don't. It sounds so weird that way. All right.
I know, and that's the way you're supposed to say it, but I just figured.
No. Yeah. All right. So it's the house of your friends and also your hopes and wishes. So it represents your social life, your friends, your groups, your aspirations, your personal ideals, the types of friends we want to attract in our networks, the roles we want to play in social circles, our ability to form and maintain meaningful, supportive relationships. It highlights our involvement with group activities, clubs, organizations, and communities. It represents our aspirations, dreams, hopes, and wishes. It impacts and contributes to the collective, our social causes, our humanitarian efforts, our collective movements. It reflects our desire to be a part of something greater for the betterment of society. It indicates our ability for collaboration, cooperation in group and team settings. It helps us with opportunities for personal growth and expansion through support and guidance of others, as well as being supportive and contributing to others. So I also think of like whenever I'm a part of 2 different groups. I teach at Zoll Studio and I teach at York Art Association. They're both 2 different groups and networks that I have. So like when I'm thinking of the 11th house, I'm thinking of them, but I'm also thinking about, the casual friends that I have. Maybe not the one-on-one contracts where I'm just like, this person, I have something very special and it's a contract, but just the everyday people I interact with that I have a friendship with. It's a little more of a light kind of friendship.
Right.
All right. Now from the 11th house, we're now networking. Now for the last house, we need to start getting a little more deep, become more internal because we're coming back again, remember, to the first house, which is the self. So the 12th house is the rulers are Pisces and Neptune. And this is the house of the subconscious and the house of secrets. It represents your inner world, your spirituality, and your hidden subconscious patterns, your experiences related to isolation, confinement, and self-undoing. It is the house of dreams, intuition, imagination, spiritual connection. This is the house, or reflects our ability to understand deeper levels of our consciousness. So it's going really deep within, I know that you don't always know what your unconscious is, but it's bringing the unconscious kind of out into the conscious. It's very self-reflective. You're growing spiritually while stuff's happening in the 12th house. It's your time for introspection, being more in solitude, more that self-discovery. So like right now I have Saturn going through that. So I've been doing a lot of hard work for the past really like year and a few months in therapy and just like really looking at everything in my life and taking the time to really discover parts that I never knew about myself and letting them kind of emerge out and learning more about boundaries and self-care and the things that I don't naturally do for myself that are going to help me become a better person for when I come back to myself in the first house. So anyways, other examples of the 12th house are hospitals, prisons, monasteries. Is that how you say that? And retreat centers. So you can see all those places are places of solitude, places of like where you're in confinement.
Mm-hmm.
This house can also signify periods of withdrawal, introspection, confronting your fears, your past traumas, your unresolved issues in order to heal and find inner peace. Some challenges can be self-undoing, self-sabotage patterns, can be subconscious fears, limitations, self-imposed restrictions that hold us back. But in the end, the positives is that we're trying to find compassion, empathy, service to others, the capacity to connect and to the collective conscious, to have spiritual enlightenment, to have unconditional love and transcend the ego. And once we transcend that ego, then we go back to the first house and like, who am I? Now that I've done all this work, how
It's
do
like
I
a
get
circle.
back to me? Yep. And it
It's
just
very similar to the 22 major arcana in the tarot cards. It's very similar because it's a journey. Journey just like that. So it's really I like how some people do connect the two, and I think I just learned a lot.
You're welcome.
That was a lot of information. So yes, I don't know people who have been taking notes. If you want to watch this again, I will share it, on Facebook, but we'll also be on our YouTube channel. It will be uploaded into our regular videos,
And can I say
probably by the morning.
too is that you got to think. So you have this wheel, right, of who you are, but
Mm-hmm.
that second wheel of what's happening in the world, all those planets are changing around your chart daily / weekly / monthly, depending on how slow or fast those planets are happening. And you can track like, where's the moon today? Where's Saturn today? What does this mean in my life right now? And it helps you become more self-aware, more reflective, and it helps you think more about your journey and how you want to become the best version of yourself.
Yeah. So Rick had a question. Oh, sorry, you're putting buttons on was
Yeah,
too,
go
Andy.
ahead.
Rick had a question: is why is Sagittarius everyone's favorite? I've heard this too before, so I
So
don't know if that's
Sagittarius is very fun. My
okay.
sister's a Sagittarius. She's like the life of the party.
Okay.
Um, they love to party. They love friends. They're very lighthearted. They're into
Mm-hmm.
sports. I mean, these are all generals.
Yeah.
They're just fun people.
Mm-hmm.
But like every sign, they have their negatives, right? Sometimes they think they know everything. They can be a little bit self-righteous. I hate to say this because I said my sister's a Sagittarius, but sometimes they feel like they know things, and sometimes, it's good to also take in other people's perspectives. They can also I'm trying to think of like other negatives of Sagittarius.
Would it be like the opposite to maybe like if you're having fun in your party, maybe you're forgetting responsibilities?
Yeah, that would be true.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I mean, you can look up any sign and see positives and negatives.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are higher intelligence, like that ninth house. They want to learn things. They're going to learn everything to the ninth degree. And that's why they think they know so much, is because they've learned so much. But you also have to take into account the other people around you and what they've learned, and that they're just as valuable as the things that you've learned. That's the struggle of a Sagittarius. It's like, I know so much. It's like, well, that's great, but so do we. And you got to take other people into
Yeah. You
account
got
with
to
that.
let other people talk sometimes. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So, Rick, I believe you're a Sagittarius, correct? Is that what? Because that does describe you. You are very much the part. No, I'm saying the party, the having fun, the very fun person. Like we work together at
I thought you
Cracker
said you were
Barrel.
Gemini.
Or
What
did
are you?
he say he was a Gemini?
What are you, Andy?
Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Aquarius. So
Yeah.
Aquarius are very good friends. They're very much about the collective, and they're very, very intelligent. The thing that would be a negative is sometimes they're a little detached. So as much as like you're like friends with them, they're not going to be the kind that come up and just give you a big hug and be all lovey-dovey. I mean, unless they have some cancer somewhere. They're a little more detached. They kind of keep a little separate, but at the same time, they're very friendly and smart. I mean, they make really good friends.
He does. He
Mm-mm.
does. Andy, do you know your other signs? Did we ever do your chart?
Mm-mm.
Well, something to let you guys know too is like your sun sign is an aspect of you, but once you turn like 30-ish years old, you become a little bit more of your ascendant. So you really at this point should be looking more at your ascendant and who you've kind of become from
I
your
will.
Do you
What's
know
that?
your date of birth? Do you know your time of birth, Andy?
Mine was after like 7:00 in the evening,
Okay. Well, we will run it and see.
somewhere around that. But
Um,
once I turn 30, I'll start looking at the other.
once you turn 30. My ascendant is, what was my ascendant? It's Pisces, right? My ascendant is
Oh,
Pisces.
you had Cancer.
Cancer.
I don't know what your
Okay.
what was your sun?
Sun is Virgo. Ascendant is Cancer.
Okay, so
My moon is Pisces.
you were probably, this. I mean, Virgos have, obviously pros and cons. My son's a Virgo. And they usually say Virgos are very organized. He is not organized.
I'm organized in my own way.
Yeah, that's how I think he probably is too. But they're very practical. And I think what you are becoming as you're becoming older is more into the heart. So you might have been more of a practical person, but you're coming more into that heart. And probably with all the career stuff that you're doing with the moon, you have to dive more into your heart to understand emotions better, to be that intuitive person.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Capricorn or Cancers are very in touch with their emotion side, right? Is that
Well, and that can go good or bad because you can be very emotional and a hot mess, or you can be very emotional and really understand emotions more than other people.
And I used to be very emotional and a hot mess when I was younger, but now I'm embraced my emotional side, but I understand them and able to process and integrate them into my life in a healthy way.
I'm a Cancer. I'm a very sensitive heart, and I love deeply, but at the same time, I understand emotions extremely well.
Ooh, that must be me too, because that sounds exactly like me.
Where were you born, Andy?
When?
City.
Winchester, Virginia.
And your year of your birth is, you want to say it out loud? Or you want to send me a text message?
1972.
72. You're younger than Gary.
I was 80. It's not too far.
Here, poor Gary is not even involved, and she just,
He's listening in. He's
I
upstairs
know
on
he is.
YouTube.
Gary, I got your back, buddy. It doesn't matter how much.
All right, let's see this.
How much?
You guys go ahead and talk.
Gary, it doesn't matter how much snow on the roof. It's the fire in the furnace. Okay, just remember that.
So it's just fascinating. All of this is fascinating. Like
it is, because it makes a lot of sense, and it some of the history and stuff like that I've read, where they were reading signs or reading the stars or aligning planets and stuff, they would literally go by things like that to maybe not and I've done a lot of the marine stuff, like all the pirates and stuff like that. I had to do stuff like that in school, and a lot of them would go by certain.
I'm sorry, laughing. Your ascendant is Virgo.
But it would be like certain alignments and stuff. They wouldn't sail in certain areas and stuff like that, because they would see, this sign was this and this sign was that, or, and it kind of makes sense though. What they're saying is like some of the things that I've read in history where people have used astrological charts and stuff like that to.
Well, they used to use astrologers to work with the kings and the queens,
Right.
to help the kings and queens decide
I've heard that too,
and when to have kids, and they would pay a lot of money because back in the day they had to do everything through mathematical equations. Where now you can just snap a button and it tells you.
Oh, is this me?
This is you.
Let's see.
Yeah, your ascendant is Virgo.
Man, you've got Saturn at 29 degrees. That's got to feel kind of restrictive.
You say that a lot. You feel like restricted. Yeah, like.
Oh yeah.
Well, you've got like the heavy hitter at 29 degrees. That's. Oh, and you got Pluto at 1 degree. Yeah.
You got a lot of Aquarius in your chart.
Oh, you've got Neptune on your IC. So there's
That
your
is-
spirituality stuff. And
Mhm.
it's completely opposed. Well, with a red line. I don't think degree wise it's completely opposed. I mean, it's within a 5-degree orb, I believe. I can't really see the degree on that, but it does look like it's opposite your Saturn. So that'd be something to kind of research for your midheaven is, you know, Saturn opposite Neptune natally. What does that mean? Anyways, I didn't really go over the nodes. I mean, they're very important, just like planets. You have the North Node and the South Node. Those were those horseshoe-looking things.
Mhm.
So the horseshoe that goes down is actually your North Node. And the horseshoe that goes up is actually your South Node. So if you just kind of reverse it in your head. But the South Node is like where you've come from, what you're extremely good at, what you come into this world already kind of excelling at. And then your North Node is where you're headed, like your destiny and what you're meant to achieve while you're here. So for me, my South Node was in Aquarius in the 11th house. So for me, it was like being detached in a way and just like watching people
Mhm.
and really getting to know, I guess, just others in general. And then I'm going towards 5th house Leo, North Node. And so that's like really learning how to express myself, my creativity, and really thinking of myself, which is extremely hard for me because everybody would be like, oh, that sounds like a great, you know, just think of yourself and do whatever you want. It's fun loving, it's creative. The more creative you get, you know, the more you're going to excel and just think of yourself. And I'm like, that is so hard for me though, because I have so much in Libra, which makes me want to think of everybody else besides myself first.
Mm.
My challenge is to like get over that and to learn to like really start thinking more about myself and how I'm going to change my direction and not think about like, oh, I also want to homeschool my son. And oh, I also, you know, care about my husband and his job and making sure he's good. Oh, and then, you know, I want to make sure my family's okay. And
I think we've had this conversation before.
yeah, so it's like learning, it's for me, it's learning,
Mm.
you know, that self-direction, which,
Yeah.
but for other people, it might be something completely different.
All right. So I have a question. We've talked about the sun sign and the ascending sign, but you know, I'm a child of the moon, a moon child. So what does the moon sign mean? This is what I've been told. It's kind of like who you are in the dark. It's who you really are, like down
It's your internal
beneath.
essence. It's how you feel. It's your internal being, the receptive part of you, the feminine part of you, the part that
Mhm.
really goes inward. It's
Mhm.
also relates to your mom. So you could look up, you know, on Google. I do a lot of just searching or in books.
Okay.
How your moon sign. So you could say, you know, what's your moon in? Did it say?
Pisces.
So you could say moon in Pisces, comma, mother figure, you know, energy or something like
So
that.
they're
So
talking about your mother or how you are. Is that how
it will
you are
talk
as a
about
mother?
your mother,
Okay.
how you saw your mother. So when I read my son's, um, you know, he may not always see me as, and see, this is what kills me is because I'm a Cancer, right? And I'm all about my child because it's in the 5th house. So I'm all about my child. I'm a Cancer. I love with my heart. I feel all kinds of feelings, but he's going to see me as someone that's more practical, not as emotive. And he's going to see me as kind of like the structure, which
Mhm.
makes sense because I'm kind of like his homeschool teacher slash
Yeah.
parent. You know, so he's going to see me as more of that practical side, the more like educationally intelligent. So Virgos are very intelligent, right? I'm like
Mhm.
his teacher. So like because I know that information, I'm like, okay, I don't want him to see me as just practical or just as this intelligent figure in his life and, you know, providing structure. I want him to know that I love him.
Mhm.
So I put the extra time into trying to like cuddle with him and give him hugs and kisses and tell him every day he's like the most important person to me and that I love him very much because I want to make sure it's getting through to him, even though
Yeah.
I know he's still going to see me as that practical, whatever. So
I guess my question would be: there is no way to change the way maybe
I'm being seen.
talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, you just have to come to terms with that's how they're going to see you. But for me personally, because remember, I'm like the co-creator of my universe. I want to make sure that if this is something that I'm hearing and it doesn't make me feel great hearing that, well, then how am I going to choose my life moving forward? And I also feel too, like when you know your chart and you know things in your chart, maybe not somebody else's chart, but in your own chart, you have choice. You know, you make your own path. So if you see things in your chart where you're like, yeah, you're right, that kind of is me, maybe I should work on that.
Yeah. So you can change the way your chart is seeing you as then.
Knowledge is knowledge.
I got you. Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I
That's why we
probably
become self-aware so we can be the best versions of ourselves. So the
should have
more you
looked at this
understand
about
that
30. What were you at 30 years ago when I needed all this?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like what you said about being the best, knowing those both dark and light aspects of it and being able to balance them, you know, and
well, so every
yeah.
planet, every sign, every house has a positive and a negative.
Mhm.
You get to decide what equation you're going to be on with all that.
Gotcha. Right.
That's where the free will and the choice
That's
comes
where the
in.
free will
Yeah.
comes in. Yep.
Yeah. You got to do the work. You got to do
Yep.
the shadow work.
Yep. And that's
Work with the shadow works.
I'm going through now.
And that's what we
Same.
talk about a lot. It's the shadow
Same.
work of things.
Yeah, that's same here.
Mhm.
Alicia, I've done a lot of shadow work in the last year, you know,
Mhm.
and you can see the positive outcome of that, you know. Things have changed quite
I
a
have
bit.
Saturn coming right up to my ascendant very soon. And so whatever that hit is, once I kind of get through that threshold where the Saturn starts to go in the first house, it's going to be like, all right, new chapter.
Gotcha.
You know? So
Yeah.
Explain
Now,
if you can. Oh, go ahead. I was just going to ask more about the retrograde. I hear
yes. Okay.
you talk about that, and I'm like, I understand it to a point, but the effect that it has, and people saying, "Oh, it's Mercury retrograde. This is why this is happening." So, what are they talking about when they say stuff like that?
okay, so we have our Earth, right? And we have planets that go around the sun. But sometimes like planets look like they're coming
I
toward.
just sent Rick his chart, and that's why I have to explain that circle to him. So
Okay.
I'll explain. I don't know if I can explain it to you, but well, yeah.
Okay. So from the Earth's point of view, sometimes it looks like planets are coming towards us, and sometimes it looks like planets are going away from us, right?
Okay.
So like if it's
So
coming in this way or going that
if
way.
it's coming kind of like visually, if it's coming towards us, that's when a planet's just going, the direction always goes. When that planet starts going away from us, from the Earth, it's retrograde.
Okay.
And you'll notice too, like when planets come closer to the Earth, it magnifies that energy. And when planets go away from the Earth, it doesn't have as much energy towards the Earth. So it's kind of like if I'm right next to you, I might affect you more than if I'm like 10,000 miles away.
Yeah. So
Unless
like
you
when
have
it's
Zoom.
going away. Yeah.
Unless you have Zoom.
Yeah. And I think the biggest one is that people talk about is Mercury retrograde because people have seen that it does affect. I mean, we had technical difficulties tonight.
Mhm.
When Mercury retrograde is the 13th, or wait, when is it?
I don't remember.
Let me look it up.
I know the one that's coming up is supposed to be a doozy. So that's gonna be
Yeah.
it's
And,
because it's in line also like around the eclipse time. And there's
Lovely.
other energies coming into. It's supposed to be so
oh,
right now
April 1st starts on
so
April
I
Fool's
think
Day.
last night was the lunar eclipse, correct? So
Yes.
Mhm.
that was the letting go, right? We're finally
Mhm.
kind of like letting go of something. Some people it's relationships, jobs. I mean, some people aren't even getting as affected as other people. It depends on your chart, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of letting go. And then we're coming into this next eclipse. It's like the new journey. I mean, this next eclipse supposed to be pretty big. everyone's talking about this eclipse.
Yes.
But also there's a Mercury retrograde involved. So it's like something's supposed to trigger or happen around April 8th that then kind of puts us into this Mercury retrograde where it's like communication just stops, or it doesn't really stop. So, okay, let me explain a Mercury retrograde in general. I don't know. There's a lot going on with this Mercury retrograde, which, I'm
this
not
one in particular, each has their own aspect.
Is a little bit magnified. I'm not an astrologer, so I can't really tell you guys everything. But in general, a Mercury retrograde, you'll notice that, remember, Mercury is the planet of communication, just like the third house, right? So anything of communication kind of goes haywire, backwards. People drop their phones in the toilet. The email doesn't go through correctly. You thought you communicated a certain way, it didn't communicate correctly. It can be just things like glitching. Like I always tell my husband, like, make sure you've backed up your files just in case, because he does computer programming. So in general, what they say is a Mercury retrograde isn't so much always that bad things happen. It's more that you start to get internal with your own communication. So think of it as like, before I might say blah, 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 blah. But now I'm more thinking, should I say blah, 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 blah? Should I like you're just being more internal with your thought processes before you come out and decide to like say it all. So it's taking time to be more internal with information. However, according to your chart, things do happen. And, anything that deals with communication, transportation, short distance travel can go a little wonky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I hear that there's like a 5-day on either side too, like before it gets there, like builds up.
Well, and they say like not to sign contracts and stuff like that. I mean, we can't go for months on end, sometimes not signing contracts, but just know that sometimes you're not receiving the information completely correctly or exactly the way that it's intended. So just read the contract really slowly and well, and like maybe read it a couple times before you
have someone else look at it.
Or have who knows what their Mercury retrograde is.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm an odd person. I'm a sun sign is Virgo, ruled by Mercury. Mm-hmm. And I think I was born during a retrograde. So I'm always a person like retrogrades do well for me. I actually enjoy retrogrades.
So I have Mercury in retrograde too, and I'm already kind of internal with words. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really affect me the same way because I already know that energy.
Yeah. I don't know. Good things happen to me during a retrograde. So yeah. I always look forward to it. So
that's another aspect is knowing your own retrogrades too in your chart.
So I want to talk about, you're an artist.
Yeah.
Obviously we have about 15 minutes left. So you're an artist and you have beautiful, beautiful art. I've seen your artwork and I'm going to show some of your artwork, but you did realism. And then started to branch out into more of a intuitive style art. So tell me, like, how did that come about? Like, how did you start to change your artistic style?
Well, for one, I was really getting into astrology, and I took a picture of one of my students, and I really love like the lighting hitting her. And she had to do something for school where she had to have her hands a certain way, like they were filling out or whatever. And she's like, yeah, I think I might do something with water. Well, she graduated, I don't know, a few years ago. And I was like, and I told her, like, when I took that picture, I was like, one day I think I might paint this because I really I got like a couple different lights on her, different colors. And I decided, that'd be really cool if it was like cosmic dust kind of coming out of her hands. And maybe they're like gold little flickers of, light in it. So I was like, I think I'm going to paint that. And I got creative with that. And then I did one that's like a self-portrait without self. I don't know if you guys know what that means. So it's like instead of doing a picture of myself, it's another person, which was a child. It was one of my coworkers' granddaughters. And I was like, it'd be cool to like do a self-portrait without a self because I used to have blonde hair and I had blue eyes and blonde curly hair when I was little. So she had blonde curly hair. I was like, it'd be cool to make her like maybe like a mini version of me, but then have like the cosmos behind me and like my astrology chart. So that was kind of like a self-portrait without self. And then I had another picture, the same student that I had another picture of her with different lighting on her. And I loved how like in the picture, she was so self-assured. And at that point, I was really feeling like I was getting a grasp of astrology, and I was like really starting to understand it. I was like, yeah, I feel pretty assured in like what I'm learning. And so I was like, I'm going to make this an astrology piece called Assured. So I just wanted it
cool.
to be like where it was like this confidence of like, yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show some of these right now.
Yeah.
This is, I'm assuming that one she needed for her.
Yeah. So that's the cosmic dust.
That's the cosmic dust.
And you actually painted that?
That's a painting, not a picture.
What?
Yeah. You wait. And then this is.
That's the self-portrait without a self.
Freaking
Yes.
believable, man. That looks like, it looks like AI. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it really does.
It's paint.
It's paint. And you use oils. Is that correct? Is that your medium?
Yeah, oil paint.
That is crazy.
And then this would be that other one from.
Yeah, it's kind of at a weird angle because of lighting.
Yeah.
You do tattoos?
Actually, I have a coworker that I used to work with when I was teaching, and she just got into tattoo work, which I find funny. But I don't have any tattoos. I've never tried tattooing. I don't even know what that would consist of. I don't like needles.
That is amazing.
It's different. I don't like needles either, but I love tattoos. But I also, a little vulnerability piece here. I mean, I used to be a cutter when I was younger.
Mhm.
So it's a similar thing for me. It's like therapy. So I'm actually on your Facebook page right now, and I'm getting ready to share, like, you have some other artwork on here. Can I share something else? Or
I have
would
one.
you be...
I have one from Scotland that I finished that I really liked. I don't know if you can find the Scotland one.
I'm looking at I see
That
a
is
beach,
absolutely
a tall one.
Oh,
Like
that. Yeah.
And then, what is Scotland one with the rocks and the boats?
No, what I'll do is I'll send it to you now.
Yeah, send it to me now, and then I'll just share it that way because it's easier.
Okay.
I don't want to share something that you don't want me to share. So
That is just.
wait, Andy, you got to see her realism.
Really floored by what that looked like. I mean, it looked like, literally looked like AI.
Actually, you can pick which one you want. One's bigger than the other, but
Okay,
send. And then I have
got it.
let's see, I have this
Wait this one, Andy. Wait till you see this one. Hold on, let me share this one. Like, there was a painting she was doing that I wanted so bad. I couldn't afford her though. All right. Nope, that's the wrong one. Hold on. I'm trying to hit the right button. Okay.
All right, I sent you 3 different images total.
Okay. Andy, look at that one.
So I was in Scotland during the summer, and I took a picture. I love like the raking light coming through the window. And I don't. You can't really. You'd have to really blow it in, like blow it out. But
ready?
Yeah, it even has like a cigar being lit on the table. I even have like a fire burning in the back.
I see that.
You see it? I zoomed in. Can you guys see this?
In real life, it really pops out. Like here, you can't really see it that well. But
yeah, but look at she even did a picture on the on the desk, man.
Well,
like,
I can tell you those library books. Just the library books took me 3 hours.
Yeah, but I'm talking like you did a portrait within a portrait within a portrait. You know what I'm saying? It's like crazy.
Well, and the carpet was really hard.
Look at the carpet. She did the carpet. Look at that.
I see that.
Like, I can't zoom in anymore, but like, that looks so real.
And the chair, all the detail in the chair. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was one of my like pieces that I'm proud of for realism.
Oh, and there's the other one. Look at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Waterfalls.
Yeah. The waterfalls. Look at the water.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm zooming in. Look at the water.
How long would it take you to do this one?
Well, so this one's part of a 4 foot by 2 foot painting.
Wow.
I did a bunch. I did like 10 4 foot by 2 foots for York Art Association because I won some contest
There it
and I was
is.
allowed to put my artwork in the show. And it was like a private show with 3 other artists. So I did 10 4 foot by 2 foots, and they were all landscape.
I know that's one of the ones I wanted, and you told me the price. I was like, oh, no, I wish. Maybe when I win the Powerball tonight.
They take a lot of time. They take a
Well,
lot
they
of
do,
work.
and
I'm sure.
they're worth it. And that's why
Yeah.
art is expensive. I mean, she's got hours and hours and hours of work. You think about you pay someone an hourly wage. You know,
Absolutely.
it's
Well, and
I'm
then
not.
you also you think about too, like the you know, you still have to frame it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then
Oh, that's expensive. Yeah.
well, and, you know, for artists too, like one thing that people don't understand is like how long did it take you to get there too? You know,
And
like
the learning it.
yeah, and learning it. Like we had so many other paintings that were mistakes that haven't been bought that, you know, you keep getting better and better. And it's like, well, I don't want to be paid minimum wage. Like I actually want something
Yeah,
for
no kidding.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's
and
the thing.
I could flip cheeseburgers or I could paint, and I'd rather get paid for my painting.
Yeah. And you totally deserve every penny that it's worth. You know.
Definitely give Bob Ross a damn run, man, right there. I mean, that's like
Yeah, Bob Ross don't have nothing on her.
that's what I'm
I have a Bob Ross sweatshirt. I should have worn that today.
right.
You should. Yes. I think it's beautiful. Like your work is
That's
beautiful.
amazing.
You are beautiful. So if someone would want to buy one of your art pieces, like how would they get in touch with you?
They could just email me, aliciafrazier@gmail.com. And then just let me
in the
know that
comment?
just let me know that they saw me on your show.
Okay.
So I know they're legit.
Okay.
Because, you know, sometimes you get those scams where it's like, hey, I'm looking for something for my wife.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, and
Yeah. Now, when it comes to astrology,
yeah,
are you offering readings? Or are you still learning and you're not ready yet?
not yet. I mean, I've learned a lot of different aspects, but I'm still trying to learn the last little bit, which is putting it all together. I would rather honestly be able to work with somebody and learn from them and be able to say, okay, this is what I see in your chart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how spot on am I? And like, what are the things that are off? Because that's how I learn too.
You want like be an apprentice, like type of thing. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. That's what I did with tarot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Just until I really make sure, because I don't want to charge for something that I'm not 100% confident in. Yeah.
But you have a lot of knowledge. Like you really do. I think you have more than you think you
I'm
do.
still floored by the paintings. I'm not kidding.
That's why I saved them for last.
You know, astrology is on the
best
side.
for last. I saved the best for last.
Can't even draw a stick figure straight. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but I can play drums with anything. So I guess that's my artistic side.
It is. It is. It's your artistic side. You know.
Well, I don't know if you were the one that had Neptune on your IC, correct?
Yes.
Neptune is actually music.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Relates to music. Because I remember that because my dad was a broadcaster and he was really into music. And I had Neptune on my midheaven. And I always wondered, I was like, I wonder if my dad had Neptune on the midheaven because he was so into music. Like he had music on all the time in his ear, constantly listening to music. So I just associate now every time I see Neptune, I'm like, oh, music.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's probably why I don't have any music. I love music. And I do. I love drums. I play drums. I don't play them well. Mine's more about the beat and the feeling of it. And I love to dance. I was always a dancer. But
you do a lot of tribal stuff, don't you?
Tribal stuff.
Like that.
Yes. More feeling of the music, intuitive style.
That's what I used to do.
Dancing and stuff like
that. What's funny is I've never done music, and we have a piano down in the dining room. And my son's been taking piano lessons. I was like, I'm just going to like try some stuff. And I'll like intuitively just start kind of playing things. I was like, this actually sounds good. And I do it by ear.
That's exactly the way I did with piano. Yeah,
that's how my son is. He's doing everything by ear. He got a violin, came home with the violin. This was like third grade, and was up there for like 2 hours, came down and said, Mom, listen to this, and played the Star Wars theme.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was that
I make up my own stuff because I have to be artistic. So even in the kitchen, I can't go by a recipe. It just It's not creative.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you
Exactly.
something pretty funny is we just received, well, where my shop is, it's on the square in Gettysburg.
Okay.
And beside us, we have the inn on Lincoln Square where they collect some pretty cool stuff where they had a storage facility that got rented to someone else. And so we got this organ the other day, one of those pump organs, old school, that they asked if they could put over because it's supposedly haunted. And I've run a ghost tour company. So I was like, yeah, we'll put it in there. But I didn't think the thing looked like it was about ready to fall apart. But I have one of those artistic type of guys that work under me. I walk into the store the other day and Luke Stacy's playing the theme to Halloween on this pump organ.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
it's hilarious because, but just, yeah, same way, like, with like your paintings and stuff like that. I mean, people I don't think understand, with stuff like that, how like when I used to write, I wrote a lot of songs and stuff like that. I mean, that's a part of you. That's an expression that,
Mhm.
and then people, they get upset about prices and stuff like that with artwork and stuff, but they don't understand, what emotion that you've put into that and
Mhm.
the perfection and what is perfect for you and what you accept. And I was the same way with music, um, and all that goes back, like you're saying, with the astrology charts. Some people feel like I see one lady here, she talks about she doesn't play a musical instrument, but she sings. And I'm
Mhm.
sure if she goes deep into it, she's going to find out that she probably has something
Mhm.
on her astrology chart that points right at that and explains it. Because
Mhm.
what I've gotten out of this tonight, outside of just education, is simply explanation on a lot of reasons why I am the way I am, I guess. If that makes sense. Like, oh yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Or
That's why I
even
love
hearing about Stacy, you're spot on with her and a
Yeah.
lot of things. So
Well,
very cool.
that's why I love doing, like, my whole goal in life is just to help people become more aware of who they actually are,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's all of our goals here on this
It is.
podcast is to
Mhm.
help people become more aware, to do the shadow work, to ascend
Mhm.
into that 12th house.
Once you like we said before, become the best version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when you were talking about the wheel,
Mhm.
I had to take in college, I took a religion class, uh,
Mhm.
world religion. And I just remember like Gandhi, the way he looked at things in the wheel of life, and almost the same thing. Like, they believed that you would go around the wheel and learn a few things, but you still wasn't your best self. So you'd be reincarnated again. And, it could take 5 or 6 times to be reincarnated where you were finally at the best version of yourself. And then after that, when that final passing, then you went,
Mhm.
whatever he believed in heaven, I guess. And, but that's kind of weird how that is, because it's exactly what he was kind of teaching was, each time you go around the wheel, you pick up something even different and you pick up something even better
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, and
It's all connected.
my dad was very religious as well, and something that I found really interesting was, they called Jesus the fish, right?
Hmm.
Well,
Mhm.
Jesus was born in the Pisces age and was
Mhm.
Pisces, the 2
Yeah.
fish.
The two
That's
fish.
wild.
And he
The
is the
two
one
fish.
that came in and changed, the world for the next 2,000 some years until
Mhm.
now we're heading into Aquarius, which is gonna be more about AI, technology,
Right.
possibly life outside this earth, right?
Yeah.
Before that, for like 2,000 years, it's all been about Christianity and Jesus and the mark he's made on this world. Well, that was
Mhm.
Right.
the Pisces age, and he was the fish.
Mhm.
It's
So
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
It
very
is. It's amazing. It really is. I mean, we could probably talk about this
yeah.
for
Took
many,
the
many
whole night.
times. And
Yes.
I would love to have you back,
Okay.
to talk about another aspect or when you learn more, and get you back on, in a couple months, if you'd be willing, because I think that You have just a wealth of knowledge. And when you do start readings, I have a list of people ready for you. So, because I need an astrologer to send people to, because a lot of times I'm like, oh, this is an astrology thing. Let me,
You're saying I need to pick up some courses, huh?
Or you need to trust your intuition more and trust yourself.
Yes.
But that's part of your ascendant, part of your rising and getting into that. So, I appreciate you being on tonight. And Tara Shea, she definitely wants one when you are ready.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
thank
see
you.
that.
Oh, see, I think we're doing things at the same time.
Me and you at the same time, right?
Him and I are like, sometimes I think we're one brain.
It's scary. Yeah.
It is scary. But yes, so you have at least one client and myself and probably Andy.
All right, you guys are getting me motivated, because I think I know the next thing I want to do.
Good.
To get that spaghetti together. So this might be my driving force to do that last bit.
Well, how you put spaghetti together is you put Parmesan on top. So.
Cheese.
But I appreciate. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And this was great. Anybody, if you want to reach out, like obviously this is her Facebook page on here, but she did Elicia Frazier Gmail.
Yeah, at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. And feel free to reach out. I'll let you guys know when she is ready to do readings. So real quick before we end, I just want to give a shout out, not a shout out, or I want to show everybody our bracelets. It's raising funds for this podcast. This podcast is free. You guys do not have to pay to watch it, but it does cost us to run it. So by buying one of these bracelets for $1, it would help us just with the cost of the podcast, and we would greatly appreciate it. If you don't want to buy a bracelet, you can also leave a donation. I'm going to leave a link in the comments to my Venmo. You can always leave us donations. They're not required, but they are welcome just to help support the podcast in all of that. And there it is right up there. So it's in the comments. But thank you all. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for commenting, because that's what spreads us out on Facebook. Please go over to YouTube and give us a subscribe, because we're trying to get some views over there as well. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. And please remember to fill your cup first. You are the most important in your life.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elicia.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank
you, Elicia.
I appreciate you guys.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
Same. See you.
Bye.